came just to run the cheat.
And all the big grasses.
Very finest. The whitewater's fun, but
I was scared. I was a little kid.
They always try and talk me into it. The first time I came down with us to go down on the raft.
Guys are just at one with the cheat.
There's really a lot of whitewater around here.
We're going to do the canyon today, first time.
It's fantastic.
Coming down here every year, it's a great time. Some of the best paddling in the Eastern United States, I think. Too bad that it's all scarred up from passive mine drainage.
What's the pH level?
3 years ago, your eyes were burned. Cheat's excellent, except for the mine runoff. The pollution's just horrible. That really bugs me.
Muddy Creek's dead. There's nothing living in it.
Among Appalachia's enduring sources of wealth is its water. Its water tables are consistently replenished by abundant snow and rain. One of the largest watersheds in the West Virginia region is called the Cheat River Basin.
Besides the fact that it's the longest undammed, unregulated river east of the Mississippi, it's fantastically beautiful for virtually the entire length of the river.
The Cheat watershed is unique in its size and beauty.
the Cheat River tributaries from the headwaters in the Monongahela National Forest all the way down through the lower part of the canyons here are some of the most beautiful tributaries that you could find.
Countless streams create the huge and magnificent watershed. The names Otter Creek, Gandy Creek, Glady Fork, and Laurel Fork conjure up visions of wilderness adventure that beguile paddlers, hikers, mountain bike enthusiasts, rock climbers, and fishermen, luring them from all over the East.
Cheat was great fishing. It was not a matter of coming and whether you caught any fish, but how many fish you would catch.
Then came along World War II, and that kind of ended the fishing in Muddy Creek and turned it into what it was today. About that same period of time is when the mine up here in Deep Hollow began to open up and to pollute the stream.
Two-thirds of the U.S. population is within 500 miles of this recreational haven. The region includes the Monongahela National Forest, Canaan Valley State Park, Blackwater Falls State Park, and Cathedral State Park. The 220-mile Allegheny Trail runs north to south in this region, connecting parks and forests through the greater Monongahela National Forest.
I think West Virginia's best opportunities for tourism development in the Cheat watershed clearly reside in the area of resource-based tourism.
In 1996, over $4 billion of West Virginia income was based on tourism.
Fishing is big business. The local municipalities are starting to realize that the river, cleaning up the river and the recreational impacts of that are going to be significant for their areas, and that'll perhaps outweigh the negative impacts that mining caused.
An estimated 7,500 miles of streams and rivers in Appalachia are polluted by acid mine drainage caused by abandoned coal mines.
It's something that hits you at a gut level, and it's something that's, it's very impressive. But to me, again, what's impressive is not the pollution, it's the fact that the river wants to be alive.
I come here as a family man wanting to raise a nice place to raise children and to do some good.
And I love it. It's my home. You know, my kids grow up here.
It's fantastic to have kids because they'll just look at something at face value.
A lot of the kids in Preston County think water should be red. You know, it's the way they're growing up, and I would like to see that changed. This is not the way it should be.
I grew up in a small coal mining town that a refuse pile was right across from my house. The stream ran orange.
This whole river valley has been part of my life for over 60 years now. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go look at it and tell what little life there is there.
Acid mine drainage, or AMD, occurs when water, oxygen, and bacteria interact with pyrite, a mineral often found in coal mines. In addition to being highly acidic, acid mine drainage contains numerous metals, including iron, aluminum, and manganese.
This acid mine drainage produces a very high level of some harmful chemicals and have some potential harmful effects also to humans.
Fish, insects, and other aquatic life are unable to survive in AMD-contaminated water. Streams become sterile. Yet there has not been significant testing to determine the short or long-term effects of AMD environments on humans.
But we do know that most acid mine drainage has a lot of sulfate in it, which causes problems with people's digestive systems.
We find out that even a person might be more prone to cancer by drinking more acid water, as well as any other disease.
This is the same water that thousands of people in the Cheat watershed use for recreation, cleaning, cooking, and even drinking.
And the customers on the raft trips go, "Can you drink this?" And you don't know what to tell them.
The well water that we drank was rotten eggs.
The acid mine drainage from numerous abandoned mines has already taken its toll on the river. The orange coloring known as yellow boy covers several miles of the banks of the Cheat River Basin. AMD by itself produces a significant threat to the environment, but a bad situation in the Cheat watershed was about to get worse.
Prior to 77, we had very few environmental laws that pertain to deep mining. Nowadays, it's National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permits, which comes under EPA. That basically says that you can't discharge bad water into the waters of the state or the nation.
Water doesn't meet those standards, then it requires treatment and allow the iron to settle out in settling ponds.
Treating mine wastewater can be expensive, but trying to avoid environmental responsibility can be even more costly. Case in point, the TNT mining operations along Muddy Creek, a tributary of the Cheat.
What got us all started, this blowout that happened on Muddy Creek 3 years ago upstream, was a result of some very deliberate illegal action to try to divert water from an active mine into an old abandoned mine.
We went up and measured it, and there was like 15 gallons a minute.
15 instead of 250.
Right. We knew something was wrong, and we needed to find out what. And then we got the Ruthville mine maps from the archives in the Bureau of Mines, and looked at those maps and realized, gee, they would only have had to have built 32 feet of head to drive it out of the old mine if someone had drilled holes.
They submitted their final mining map like in March of 94. Okay. Now the map that was submitted in March of 94 showed no boreholes.
If you put dry seals in it and pound the water, there's always the danger that something will blow out.
In early April of 1994, the time bomb went off. A chemical mess burst from the side of the mountain, and furious Muddy Creek boiled its way to the Cheat at Albright.
1994, we had a major blowout here with millions of gallons. This whole area was covered with water running down over the hill, and there was just so much water you couldn't control nothing.
I was driving by on the way to the river that particular day. I saw the blowout, and I was angry that this was happening, and I decided that I would videotape it. This is a mine seal blowout at the TNT coal mine in Preston County, West Virginia. We're about halfway between Brewston Mills and Albright along Route 26.
The blowout was too colossal and too predominantly located to go unnoticed.
Well, I had a friend visiting up here from Georgia, and he was alarmed. He went and he called the governor. He called the toxic spill hotline.
The blowout angered everyone in the watershed, but it also intensified some of the futility in battling with acid mine drainage. The problem seemed so enormous that it dwarfed everyone's ability to address it. Responsibility could not be pinned on old mining operations, and the government was stymied by lack of funds. In 1980, a study by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency determined that reviving Sovereign Run, one small tributary of the Cheat, would cost nearly $10 million.
In early May of 1994, then, the Appalachian Rivers Symposium was held at West Virginia University. It was sponsored there by the Division of Forestry and the West Virginia Rivers Coalition. I took the tape over, a couple copies of it, and it was played in some of the symposium and some of the workshops that were going on there. So a number of people got to see it, and they were outraged, really, that this had happened to Muddy Creek and to the Cheat River.
In March of 1995, the TNT mine belched again, spewing another poisonous load of iron hydroxide and sulfuric acid into Muddy Creek. It turned the Cheat River bright orange. The water was undeniably foul.
It was a Sunday, I remember, and I got a telephone call from the Preston County inspector who said, "I think you better come up at TNT and look." And when I did, it was about 10,000 gallons a minute pouring
It's like a small river.
Yeah, pouring out of everywhere. It was coming out of the Ruth Bell mine. It actually washed the road out.
Everybody learned about the blowout at the TNT mine in their own way. And for me, I had to go up and look at it and to understand what was going on. And what you'll see if you look at it from that initial blowout was just tons and tons and tons of poison that was rolling into the river 24 hours a day.
Such blatant disregard for the environment was not to go unnoticed.
I received a call from the FBI Environmental Crimes Division, and they wanted a copy of the tape, or a couple copies, so I mailed them out. They began an investigation of the company there, the coal company that owned the TNT mine.
Further investigation by the FBI, in coordination with the West Virginia Division of Environmental Protection, showed that 2 boreholes had been drilled, connecting the TNT No. 2 mine with the neighboring abandoned Ruth Bell mine.
We was in a lot of trouble.
In the late 60s, the commercial rafting industry was just hatching in the Cheat Canyon. The 12-mile stretch of the canyon was one of West Virginia's most popular rafting runs.
First came here to the Cheat in the late 60s when Ralph McCarty of Mountain Streams and Trails had his first trips over here. In 72, I started my photography business here. But the Cheat's always been one of my favorites. It's been a river with a lot of character, at different water levels. It really changes its face.
The paddlers and rafters who came to the Cheat River were so thrilled with the quality of the rapids that they were willing to tolerate the stinging eyes and the boulders that glowed a radiant orange. but the blowouts on Muddy Creek placed the commercial whitewater industry on the Cheat in serious jeopardy.
What we've seen are declining numbers. We peaked out probably about 15 years ago and have seen a steady decline in the number of folks coming to run this particular river.
A group of friends who had paddled the river and had drawn a living from the river watched it gasp a dying breath.
I look at the blowout on Muddy Creek as a catalyst for the formation of the Friends of the Cheat. A lot of us, that early organization of the group, were boaters on the river. We knew each other from the river. We were friends, and we wanted to do something to at least get things going in a positive direction.
The first river cleanup netted a profit of $28 after cashing in all the scrap metal that was picked up. The cash served as net assets until the first memberships were sold 5 months later.
Early on, we realized the most important thing we needed to do was to draw attention to the problem that we had in the watershed. So we decided to have a festival, and both as a celebration of what a beautiful area we do have, and to draw attention to the problems that needed to be addressed.
On May 6, 1995, about 1,300 people gathered at Albright, West Virginia, where Muddy Creek flows into the Cheat, the very place where thousands of paddlers have launched their adventures into the mighty Cheat Canyon.
As part of that process, we found a field that we could put the festival in, and we said, well, we need some electricity here, and we went to approach the local coal company to see if maybe they had some generators that could help us to provide electricity for our festival. And what evolved was a breakfast meeting where all we did was go in and ask for some help, logistical help for our festival. And what we came out of that meeting with was a commitment from Anchor Energy for $200,000 reclamation project, anywhere we wanted to put it, as well as a continued commitment to help to draw together the needed partners to address the acid mine drainage problem throughout the watershed.
I want my mining company and our company to be part of the solution, not the problem. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us to put our best foot forward. We've become a successful company mining coal, and now we want to give something back to the communities.
The first Cheat River Festival brought together all the elements of the coalition. It was a genuine celebration of a remarkable feat. An unlikely mix of people gathered at the river. Some of these people had never seen the beauty of this valley or the anguish it's gone through.
The reason all these people have come together now is because there's an organization called the Appalachian Clean Streams Initiative, which has focused attention on the acid mine drainage legacy and has sought to bring all the parties together that are necessary to solve the problem.
The coal industry finances the Clean Streams Initiative through fees paid on coal production. The Office of Surface Mining got the ball rolling.
My original involvement was with, of course, West Virginia's Governor's Stream Restoration Program, which the Department of Interior's Office of Surface Mining was integrally involved since day one. From that, the Office of Surface Mining developed a new program that was getting more of the federal agencies involved across the country in clean streams, especially within Appalachian State. I actually got started by working with a gentleman by the name of Rick Buckley in the Charleston Field Office of the Office of Surface Mining.
I am really glad Friends of the Cheat came about when it did. The acid mine drainage problems in the Cheat River have existed for decades, as we've talked. Without their influence, without their participation, I don't know how far along we would be in regard to the focus and the efforts to clean up mine drainage in the Cheat River watershed.
At the first Cheat Festival, the original players, the U.S. Office of Surface Mining, West Virginia's Divisions of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources, the West Virginia Rivers Coalition, and the new lead organization called Friends of the Cheat signed the documents for what very shortly would become known as the River of Promise, a shared commitment for the restoration of West Virginia's Cheat River. When the festival was over, it was time for the work to begin. The River of Promise Steering Committee named a technical committee to design the first project. Anchor Energy's Troy Tichnell, a water quality specialist for the mining company, was asked to help.
In late '94, John Faldus decided he wanted to find a project to get into to prove that coal mining could be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I kind of got elected to go out and start looking at sites and seeing what we could find that we could be a success at. And I chose Greens Run because it was a very visible site. Its pollution sources were limited.
The $200,000 Anchor Energy pledged to create the first River of Promise project was applied at Greens Run. The coal company funded the entire project.
We actually are going to do an on-the-ground project. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to get out there, roll up our sleeves, and actually do something on Greens Run.
The plan called for an anoxic limestone drain to be designed by Ben Faulkner, special consultant for the Division of Environmental Protection, and West Virginia University's Jeff Skousen.
When we were trying to come up with a solution for treating the water in Greens Run, we have several tools that are available. An anoxic limestone drain is where we put limestone underground and allow the acid mine drainage to flow through it, and we don't allow oxygen or much oxygen to contact it. In that sort of scenario, the limestone continues to dissolve faster than in an open system. We were dealing with water that was underground water that had very low amounts of oxygen in it, and so we thought that that would be the best solution or the best passive treatment that we could use at Greens Run.
The Greens Run project created enough excitement to fire up the River of Promise participants. Although limited testing shows less than expected results in water quality improvements, the Friends of the Cheat remain optimistic.
In many ways, it's done so much more for us than we ever could have hoped, because that original commitment of $200,000 by private industry we've been able to leverage into several $1 million worth of additional reclamation work that's taken place in the watershed.
Dave Bassage became the full-time executive director of Friends of the Cheat, an organization that focused its efforts first in heavily impacted Preston County, involving leading members of the community.
As a local government official, we have to be economically inclined. We want to work with the coal companies because they are a lot of the tax base. We want to see them stay here, continue operating, but they realize too that, you know, it's a two-way street, that if we don't find a solution, we don't mind coal.
But people's got to have work. I mean, and you work to take care of your family, but then these problems occur, so eventually somewhere it's got to be a balanced out system.
The River of Promise inspired the state of West Virginia to allocate funding for a comprehensive assessment of water quality in each of the Cheat tributaries. This allowed the group to distribute its resources where they could do the most good.
The MAP project, we basically wanted to map water quality in the county. We knew that some streams had good quality to headwaters, but as they went downstream, they had acid mine drainage impacts further down. So we came up with this color-coded map that showed approximate water quality for individual stream segments.
In May 1997, the Friends of the Cheat celebrated the third Cheat River Festival. About 40 of the best kayakers in eastern United States participated in the Cheat Canyon race the day before the festival, calling attention to the fact that the river is still one of the best whitewater challenges on the continent.
Well, I think the Cheat experienced a really heavy use period there in the early 80s, where there were probably 2,000 to 3,000 people a day going down the river on the weekends, to where it's really underused right now. We certainly could see a few more people out there, and it's kind of one of those hidden gems. You don't really realize how good the Cheat is till you get out there and experience it for yourself.
People would assume that the recreational industry, the whitewater industry would never come there. But as the demand for those kind of recreational streams increased, we realized that we couldn't afford to leave these things in their messed up state.
By September of 1997, the Friends of the Cheat celebrated a second groundbreaking ceremony on Sovereign Run. This is the same Sovereign Run that in 1980 experts judged impossibly expensive to even attempt to restore. Triad Engineering, a private firm in Morgantown, West Virginia, worked at no charge with the National Mine Lands Reclamation Center of West Virginia University to design a cost-effective structure to treat all acid mine drainage from this mine.
There was a realization about 1993-94 that the acid treatment technologies that had been developed were getting to the point now where they could make a real impact on cleaning up these streams.
We want to work at remediation, where acid mine drainage is taking place, and prevention as we mine in the future. And so we're here today to underscore to all these people our commitment to get more funding, to clean up and to restore the beauty of these areas.
The West Virginia Abandoned Mine Lands mission is to protect public health, safety, and property from past coal mining, and to enhance the environment through reclamation and restoration of land and water resources.
The beauty of this particular project is we have the Friends of the Cheat providing the local organization. We have the political will supplied by the state and the federal agencies. We have OSM involvement, we have EPA involvement, we have state DEP, abandoned mine lands involvement at the state level, and we also have technology.
The enormous task of restoring the Cheat River to a condition that supports fish and other wildlife has just begun. Realistically, the Friends of the Cheat expects this to be a lifetime pursuit.
This has been a lifelong dream to implement something I feel so strongly about.
There are no easy fixes.
So we're in it for the long haul.
Perhaps my grandchildren might see that the same kind of pristine stream that it was when I was a child.
And one thing about water quality, it tells us the health of the community. It tells us the health of the environment. And it tells us whether or not we're going to be able to survive here as a human race.
To learn more about the Friends of the Cheat or the Cheat Watershed, please write to this address or visit our website at www.cheat.org.